Here's how to up your game by building professional style drawers that can easily accommodate undermount soft close hardware. In the cabinetry world, we usually build drawers out of 5/8 or half-inch material. The reason for that is that the standard hardware is all set up to accommodate 5/8 or half-inch drawer sides. You can either buy your own pre-made drawer material or you can just buy some half-inch plywood and make your own. One of the advantages of buying pre-made drawer side material is that it's already finished as well. You don't have to put a clear coat on it. So if the pre-made drawer sides aren't available to you, you could always just buy yourself a piece of half-inch plywood, whether it's pre-finished like this or it's unfinished, and make your drawer sides out of that. First thing you need to do is figure out how wide the drawer needs to be. Since I mostly use half-inch material, I know that with the undermount slides, I'm going to need to make my drawer box finished width exactly 5/8 smaller than the hole size. To figure out how tall you should make the drawer, a good rule of thumb with these undermount slides is to make it 1 inch smaller. So if you have an 8-inch hole, you're going to want a 7-inch tall drawer. So the most common sizes for these type of drawer slides is going to be 12-inch, 15-inch, 18-inch, and 21-inch. You'll need to determine what depth you should be using, which is very easy. If you think you need a 21-inch drawer slide, make sure that the cabinet interior is at least 21.5 or larger to accommodate the size of that drawer slide. The first thing I do is cut out all of the sides. That's because I'll need to rabbet both edges of the sides to give the ends a place to glue to that's raw wood and not pre-finished like this panel. The fronts and backs of the drawers is usually what I cut out last. So once you've got your sides cut out, we'll make a dado to inset your bottom. Easiest way to do this dado is going to be on a table saw. What you'll do is set your fence to a 1/2 inch and then set your blade height to a 1/4 inch. 1/2 inch is what you need this tab to be so that the undermount slides can fit up underneath it. Okay, so we're going to set this fence on a 1/2 inch. All right, that looks like about perfect. This is the starting point to our dado. We're going to move that way with the dado and make it a little thicker to accommodate our 1/4 inch bottom. If you have a large drawer, you may need to make these dados wider to accommodate whatever thickness of the bottom you're going to be putting on there. So we're going to move this over. We started at the 1/2 inch. I'm going to move it to the 5/8 mark. And just like that, we have a 1/4 inch dado. So we're going to be taking about this amount of material off. It needs to be a 1/2 inch in so that we can put our 1/2 inch drawer side. And then it just needs to be a 1/16 or less deep. It's just giving us a raw gluing shoulder to connect our pieces to. So you could do this 2 ways depending on your comfortability or what you have. You could put it down like this and run that rabbet all the way till you get to the edge of it. Or if you're comfortable with it, you can do like I do, which is I set this where it needs to be. I set that at the height I need, and then I just walk my fence over just like that, and then make my rabbet like this. First thing I do is check it to make sure that it is flush here. Looks like we're good to go. Once you have all of the sides to your drawer boxes rabbeted out on the sides, then you need to measure for how big to cut the front and the back of your drawer. And the easiest way to do that is once you know what the entire size of the drawer needs to be, in this case mine's going to be 27 1/16, then I put my tape on 27 1/16 here, and over here you'll see that I have 26 3/16. So that's the size I need to cut the front and the back to make my drawers the size that I need. So now we will cut out all of the fronts and backs. Next thing we're going to do is take a notch out of the bottom of the back piece of each drawer. And that notch is going to be 2 inches wide and a 1/2 inch tall. This notch is so that the drawer slide can not only hook onto the back where the hole wheel will drill after these are built, but it also allows the drawer to go in and out on the track. You can use a jigsaw to cut this out if you like. I find it cleaner to do on my table saw. To cut this groove on my table saw, I usually use my miter gauge, but you can see that it doesn't really hold very well, which is why I usually screw this piece onto it to actually hold my material in position. that's what you want it to look like, is it comes just to the top of that dado. We're just going to remove this little piece of material here. Next thing we need to do is cut that tab off. Now set up your saw to cut the opposite side. Now we've got all of our pieces cut out except for the inset bottoms. To figure out what size you need, take your finished drawer width and depth and minus 9/16. That should be the size that you make your drawer bottom. To build these drawers, we're going to use Titebond glue number 2 as well as 1 to 1.25 inch brad nails. Here's all the pieces it's going to take to make each drawer. 2 sides, a front and a back, and a bottom. This is how they go together. Apply glue to these rabbited edges. Now, if you're using unfinished material, you won't need to make this rabbet. I make the rabbet because I used pre-finished material. It doesn't matter if you connect the back of the drawer or the front of the drawer first, so long as you connect them. Once you nail your drawer together, it's almost finished up. What we need to do is turn it over and put it up against a square like this and check for square. If it's not square, you can just simply push it into position and hold on to it. But now what you're going to want to do is to take hot glue and go all the way around the inside of this. Keep in mind that we're going to have a drawer clip that's going to sit right about here on each one of these drawers. So wherever this is, wherever the notch is in the back, the opposite on the front, you should not glue there because it'll get in the way of you putting the mounting clip. Make sure you hold down well on the bottom so that it creates less of a gap on the inside. You can make it pretty much gap free. For these type of slides, what you're going to want to do next is measure over 3/4 from the side and measure up from your notch a 1/2 inch, and at the center of that drill a 1/4 inch hole on the left and the right side 3/8 deep. Then the last step is to install the drawer clips. These are going to go in the spots where we made sure we didn't put glue so they did not interfere. They go like this. We're going to use 2 5/8 screws and mount each one there, and then they are ready to be put onto the drawer slides. And although this is upside down, these drawers are going to fit onto these drawer slides just like this. You see that little hole we drilled grabs the foot in the back. This connects to the front, so the way to take these off is push this over, pull the drawer slide out.